Alright guys, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to overview the Hedera Hashgraph protocol. If you're new to my channel, please check out my video, how this channel works. So this is an overview of Hedera. You can see that it has some good team mechanics, governance mechanics, and we have some caution to show with the distribution and the fact that this token is pretty well, like the public is aware of this token. This token has gotten some major exposure that even other projects have not. And the overall conclusion that I reached is that I did buy a small position of this project. The pros for it is it's an innovative approach. They have large industry partners working in their governance model. Their tokens are used for governance, and the token is used for services. The cons are that there's a massive future release of tokens left to be distributed. Awareness is already high, and governance is still centralized for now. So there is a threat of token role change in the future. When something's centralized, there is a risk that they will not want to give up power. People usually don't, but they have distributed that power. Even though it's centralized, they work on building it to be decentralized. So that risk may or may not be that significant in the future. So the summary of what this problem does is, or it currently solve, the current stuff that this project is doing is the sixth most used crypto, or it's not really a blockchain. You can't call this a blockchain because its architecture is quite different. That's why it's a unique approach, and it has some very unique features that blockchains actually don't even have, such as asynchronous trust, and you could do some valuable things with that, which means that this project actually, I think, is, might be flying under the radar, especially now. But we'll get into some of the different aspects of this project that are going on when I overview the diagram. A current business that's using is something called Ads DAX. I got that from one of their marketing guys in one of their videos, which is using their blockchain to do proof of valid ads and remove fraudulent ads. Right now, it's not a blockchain. The Hashgraph is doing 1 million transactions a day. It's only been active for about a month, the public chain, according to that video that was released about a month ago. So it's been 2 months now that this project has been open and running, the public chain. It has let me see, non-disclosed in the works. Oh, they have many NDA agreements so you can't really get a good picture of what's going on because their partners are under non-disclosure agreements, and you'll find a lot of that in a lot of these projects. Another thing that this project is potentially going to be very useful for is micropayments, and they already have someone using that called EFTPOS, an Australian payment service, and they actually do 130 billion in transactions. That's pretty massive. And this project, we'll get into the market cap mechanics, but this project is kind of undervalued if it has it's doing 150 billion transactions, or maybe it's just penetrating that business a little bit in the testing, but in the future they might onload some of those transactions. But remember, it's very cheap to use this project, so it could handle a lot of volume and not see a lot of transaction fees associated because it's a cheap blockchain to operate. It doesn't have a lot of overhead. It's not a blockchain. I don't know why I keep saying blockchain. I'm sorry about that, guys, but it's in the crypto space, almost everything's a blockchain. So this project is this right here, and it uses math and data. They send little packets of data to each other to communicate, and what they achieve by doing this is an asynchronous security, which many of these other projects do not have. Synchronous means one right after another, things right after another. Asynchronous means I can go do something, and this could be doing something over here, and something can keep going down over here. And then later on, they check it. This returns back to this operation. So something is processing over here. You have processing over here. When it's finished, it returns to the process. It delivers new information. Asynchronous means that things don't have to be done in order. So you have security in an asynchronous way. And that's accomplished by this. And you could do it. That means there's new use cases that this project will fill that other projects will not be able to fill. He was talking about how crypto went from ledger to contracts and in the future we'll be doing markets using fairness. That is, this has a fairness in ordering, because when they send this data packets to each other, you'll know when the transaction happened. But in this method, miners or even validators can delay the information that they put into the block and allow for another order to go first. And that's not fairness. Fairness is when you did your transaction, it is known when you did it in comparison to other things. So there's going to be unique use cases for this approach. So here's the basic things that it could serve now is cryptocurrency, smart contracts, and file service. It's not a blockchain. It's called DLT, Distributed Ledger Technology. So it's not a chain of blocks. You have fairness, and you have that security. Timestamp for files. Okay, so what problem will this project solve in the future, and is it value? They're going to acquire more market share, more expansion of the services provided. I watched their latest town hall, and they were saying they're putting in state proofs, libraries, demos, doing all of that. They're also going to they're doing interoperability. That's something they're working on, which is big. I would like to see this project work on something like Polkadot to connect to Polkadot. That would be very valuable for them one day. They did not mention anything with Polkadot, but they are talking about interoperability with Hyperledger, R3, and Quorum, and they did say they're working on communication between ledgers. So that would be like an approach. It would be Polkadot would be the target if you're going to do that communication between ledgers, and that could give them. That means something like Polkadot could consult this project, the DLT. So Polkadot could have its blockchain approach, sharded blockchains, and they could consult with, through a bridge, the DLT, with all those little guys. It can consult with this and get its information or its services. And so it'll have that network effect. Their council, they're going to expand their council. They're steering, they're steering it towards technicality and different markets, and so that they are getting a distributed council, even though the council is in control of everything with this project, and you cannot the difference between open source or not centrally controlled is that this one not anyone could join, and there's some pros and cons to that. The people being selected and added to the council, at least you can select what you perceive to be high quality people, and that may or may not work in your favor, and I believe it does. So a lot of people do not, because they say, oh, it's central control, but like up until now, you can't throw out any form of centralization and say that it's not going to be profitable, because our goal is here is to make money. Our goal isn't to be decentralized or whatever. So you have to look at incentives. That's what I look at. I look at what are the incentives of the parties involved. Are they aligned with you as a token holder? And that's what we have to look at. And I think that they do accomplish that, even though it's a centralized It's not centralized. It's like a decentralized picked, like they're picked, hand-picked council. And they are going to have that council full by 2021. From a very diverse spectrum of participants, globally distributed, many different business sectors, and I think that is actually a very strategic approach. Swirlds is the company that kind of they own the intellectual property to this project, and they will not launch dApps in the future, and they will only work for the success of Hedera Hashgraph. And so they're currently hiring people. The goal is their goal is to set this thing up to last 100 years. And they want to be something like Alphabet, but, they want to help people. Alphabet is that massive conglomerate of Google's efforts. Google started with the search engine, and then they moved up, capturing more and more of the business's stacks, So they want to see this thing become big. And one of the things that they mentioned that I thought was very interesting was something that this could do. For instance, this different distributed ledger could do in this manner is have massive game worlds without a central server. So that means you wouldn't be consulting servers. The users would generate the game space, and because this is scalable with sharding, and they do have sharding capabilities, users will be all the users will be contributed to their local data reaches. Something like the relevant data to the user will be generated by the local users within that spectrum of the game. Very, 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 very interesting mind simulation there. And so does the team have a track record for showing that they can deliver? Yes, they do. One more thing I will mention about this project is it takes a legal approach to a lot of the things they do. And so, they'll be working with governments, working with regulators. And you do see that in real life. You see them working with regulators, talking about the future of blockchain. They do take an approach where they have their technology patented. And this chain, they've built into it the inability to fork. So they have control of that. This project will keep control of its proprietary inventions on which the founders are the inventors of this particular approach. So no other project will benefit or be able to take away, at least in where they have legal precedent, no other project will be able to use this technology, this approach. Is the token for use for services, and do they have a lot of room for growth? These are two mission-critical things. You want to invest in projects that have a lot of room for growth and where the token is used for services. All right, so we'll get right into it. I expect this project's price to perform in the future. I do expect future demand to increase. Their current niche market expected growth is going to be big. Major corporations are currently using this and working on setting this up. They have a lot of NDA agreements, non-disclosure agreements, means they don't want other people to know what they're doing. Ad stacks, fairness of time submission, asynchronous security, all of those current use cases are most certainly going to expand. They have unique markets that they're going to go for that other blockchains, even other cryptos cannot compete with, because they don't have those capabilities that are offered by async security and fairness of time submission. So yeah, there's definitely going to be contribution from its current niches. The token is used for 1/3 consensus. The tokens have to reach consensus to agree on it. Anything in the network, if there's voting, you stake the currency to become a node. Nodes are paid in H-bar, and fees for services provided are in H-bar. That's the token, H-bar. Value of the target market is large. Internet of Things, games, financial, unique approach. Yeah, there's as in blockchain and or just crypto in general. There's the security, finality, all this stuff that blockchain offers. There's a massive market for it. We're talking about all the world's assets coming to it. So once again, this is another project, and it has a unique approach. So absolutely, it has a massive market. There's just a massive amount of market for all of these projects. Okay. So future market excitement from price momentum likely. I'm neutral on this because of a lot of the things in the area that are affecting it. So major upcoming events. Not anything super exciting. They're just going to make their code available by end of year so that people could run it on their personal computers and prove that it does what they say it does. But it's not going to be open source because they have patent rights and they're not going to let anyone use it wherever they have legal precedent. But one thing to say, if they don't have legal precedent, like somewhere like China could take the code and run their own project and it'll distribute across the globe, or at least in those regions if they can't enforce it. So there's that to consider. But, in places where they have that legal binding. Current awareness is low for the hype stage. This project has some significant exposure. The project has 42,000 people on Twitter following it. The team has a low following on Twitter. Lehman Bard and Mance Harmon, the two project leads, they're not that aware on Twitter. Not a lot of people have them on Twitter. Now, here's where it's got major exposure. It's one of the biggest exposures I've seen. Mike Maloney did a video. If you don't know who that is, I would highly suggest you check out his channel. Mike Maloney, Hidden Secrets of Money is one of the greatest YouTube series you could watch on YouTube to make you aware of the money situation in the world. So once again, that's Mike Maloney's Hidden Secrets of Money. And 11 million people saw Hedera in his last video of that series, or one of his later videos in that series. And then the video outside of Hedera of Mike Maloney talking about it had 166,000. And I will note that is a recent video, which means there's a lot of interest in this project for them to generate 166,000 views in a recent video, and it was just of them talking about average old Hedera stuff. So there's some boiling interest in this project. Once again, Mike Maloney's video gave 11 million exposure to this project. So neutral about money needed to move price up to decrease. I think that, I don't know, like a lot of these token economic forces are not too strong. So regarding the inflation, there is no inflation. There's going to be no tokens for now. That's what they commit to. There's no plan to ever admit new coins. However, the release of new coins feels like inflation. So that's why I put the inflation as red. And there's constantly new coins being released. And that's going to feel like inflation. That works the same way as inflation. So that's why I put it as red. So the release schedule shows 325% for the year 2020, which we're mostly through the year 2020. And that's why I will say that's a positive, because this is the biggest release of the token. This year is pretty hyperinflationary. But however, so since we're starting to get over that hump of extreme inflation, now we're actually moving down the inflationary rate. There will be high inflation again after 5 years, but for now, that inflationary force that pushes down on price will be diminishing, and that's actually bullish. But I put red because the supply distribution still has a lot to grow in the future. So if the total supply was distributed for 5 years, the market cap would be 1.2 billion. And so that's all I put. In reality, the market is around 200 million right now. So you could see that there's a lot of coins yet to be released. Either way, 200 million is kind of a high market cap. However, since most of these coins are yet to be released, the real market cap is after 5 years, expected distribution is about 1.2 billion. Now I will say that this project has some signs that there's real adoption going on behind the scenes. When a project has a price that skyrockets, and then skyrockets, you get a lot of fake buyers. People who buy from the momentum because they don't know what they're doing, and they see price moving up, they're excited, so they buy They buy it, and that drives the price up even more. This, but this project does not have that because they have a lot of tokens being released. So the price has been moving sideways, mostly, and because there's no hype from price, but we are seeing a market cap. The market cap is growing a lot. The market cap has grown by 10x. So that's interesting. Like the market cap is rocketing up, but the price is not, and that's because of the release of those tokens. But that comes to at an end. That negative effect of those tokens comes at an end this year, and then it drops by tenfold. That's like this is a 20-fold drop in inflation for the next 5 years. So this massive inflation that we've been experiencing is almost over, and then we dropped by tenfold that inflationary put downward pressure. So this project might take off, and that's something to consider. So that is the opposite of fake growth, where you have a market cap that's rocketing and the price is moving sideways. That's real growth because people aren't buying it just because the price is going up. And so that's why I put this as mostly green. That's an interesting sign to be aware of. Many NDAs, so I can't know what their niches are, but they've only been live for a few months and they got a lot of business deals. But I do know that they have some niches because you will see a lot of major companies working with this project. But we don't know. I don't expect tokens on the sell side to decrease. And so you see this mostly neutral effect from all of these forces over here. Tokens per person to go down, I do expect that to happen. Regarding the exchanges, I put neutral. It's not on Coinbase and it's not on Kraken. It's not on some of the major ones, but it is available, easy to acquire. I put orange. I put yellow because it's not that difficult to acquire, but it is not on some major exchanges still. Okay, we're gonna jump over here to the people. Leland Bard, he has a PhD in computer science. He's the founder and chief scientist. He worked from Carnegie Mellon. That's where he graduated. He's a chief technical officer, which is great. He invented this algorithm. He invented the Hedera Hashgraph algorithm. So that's a major achievement to be the inventor. So yes, the team, and he's working. He loves this project. He's a very passionate guy. He's the kind of person you want around doing technology. You don't want him to do end product. You don't want him to do management, but you do want him to do technology and a lot of the technological vision, and that's exactly what he's doing. 2X, so they have a lot of, they have two directors of engineering and security at Motorola. Now, if you don't know, Motorola was big during these years. I think it was the leading cell phone provider. So to have two people that worked at like the best, they were the leads of security at Motorola, working on this company during Motorola's height. That's a very good experience right there. They have graduates from machine learning and cloud, and people with experience in cloud computing, which is good. Current developer team is great. Of the DAGs, acyclic graphs, which is I would say they're making the most ground. They're making the most, like IOTA doesn't have the partnerships this project does. This project is in a better position than a lot of those. It's doing a lot of the groundwork for setting up industry. So they're all about those partnerships. Those partnerships become part of the governing members. Avery Dennison, Boeing, Google, IBM, T-Mobile, LG, University College of London. These are all members that sit on the council, and it's designed to leverage those partnerships. And all the seats will be filled by 2021. And you'll see. You can check out my sources to see a total list of their partnerships. So this project gets a lot of criticism. Their governments, because people call it centralized. Frankly, those people don't know what they're talking about. It's about the token economics, and that's all we care about. So, those who bought in, they're leveraged to benefit from their business partnerships. And so yes, if you become one of their business partners, you're making deals that benefit Hedera, and Hedera is making deals that benefit itself and benefit your business. So that's buying in a sense, are those business council members. They become members and they make those agreements that are mutually beneficial for both the systems. So currently there's a treasury and a stake towards the council members, their nodes, meaning they're not in control of the tokens, but they are making their income from that, from being node operators. That's an important distinction because that means that they don't own a large quantity of tokens. They might even be saving these tokens. Maybe that's why that price, that market cap is increasing, because they're not selling their tokens. They're just keeping them. So, maybe that's where that's coming from. The council as a whole controls the coins in the treasury. So there's a bunch of different council members, and they all control the treasury. No particular party controls the treasury, so they can't reward themselves completely. And they, if they were to distribute it equally amongst themselves, so what? Okay, that'll get rid of the current supply of tokens, but they'll vote for what, since their income is from this token, they want the price to increase, and so they will vote for things that will increase the price of the token, and they're aware of hyperinflation, so they're not going to make new tokens. You think of the game theories involved. They're because they're node operators and they have to stake, or HBAR has to either be staked to them or they have to own it themselves, and then they get their income from HBAR. All of those things drive them to care about the token price, and that's all we care about is, does the governance care about the token price? And the way it's set up, they do. It's fully controlled by the council with plans to release after a greater distribution, so that those nodes, not anyone could be a node, but in the future they're going to make it to where anyone can be a node when the tokens are better distributed. So that's actually good. They do have a plan to make it decentralized in the future. The tokens are used to vote and stake, so that's where a lot of that value will be driven from, and that's also why you have this right here. The industry leaders are selected to be node operators with HBAR from the treasury stake to them and a 6-year max governance life where they will be removed. So that's also something to consider. So they know that they have term limits. Very unique approach to their governance model. And then, obviously in the future, when the token's better distributed, they will release a lot of those tokens. By the way, if you've seen my Cadenia project, this one's actually kind of similar in that it's got a very unique approach, and also the people have set up the token economics to, the token economics are in very negative, but they're very much set up so those people that put the work in benefit from it. And, if you're a smart person, if you want to benefit from your hard labor, and, that's the free market. And so this is another one, just like Cadenia. They set it up to capture a significant amount. They're not capturing all of it, but they're capturing a significant amount of that value. And, this project being valued at 1 billion in the 5-year span of all the tokens being released, I will say that this project will probably be a lot more than that. So that's, not investment. Everything I say is not investment advice. Their long-term strategy will be good because of high-value people selected by the governance, and that affects everything, as you can see. Having high-value people is very important. Developer compensations, they have that massive treasury. Also, nodes decide their budget in the future. Developer motivation likely to be good because they have clear mission statement. Their mission, and also their founder says a lot of cool stuff about virtual worlds. He talks about shared virtual worlds a lot. Anytime you hear him talk, he's talking about these cool little virtual worlds, and you should go listen to him talk, and it's really interesting to hear. But they say build trusted, secure, and empowered future for all. That's their mission statement. So they do have a clear mission statement. It's just cool. This is a cool project. There's, I can definitely see this project having a huge market share. High value upgrades, absolutely. Lehman Bard, that's the guy. He's always, he's a very valuable player, technical guy. He understands a lot about this. He's being the inventor, and I think he's in the right place for this to benefit from his skills. The council members will be derived where a lot of these service provided increases. They'll be creating those services, and the governing council's goal is, that they'll make Hedera a stack good. This is like the bottom layer, and then the things that are built on top of it will be the businesses, and they will be creating those services utilizing that stack. And the way they're set up, mutually beneficial from the onset. Yeah. So this is from strategic partnerships and being the best of the competition, contributing to large business models. So you have being the best of the competition and also strategic partnerships. Both of those things make large business models demand your token. And the council votes with that. These things right here, they don't contribute. I don't know why more projects don't use these, but since I'm not going to talk about them because they don't contribute. They're just governance aspects that are not built in this project, and they don't do anything because they don't contribute. This right here, right now the council controls it, so exchanges aren't in control of this project. But in the future there is future risk when they distribute that power, unless actions are taken to prevent custodial exchange voting. But for now, that's not a risk factor. Christian Hasker is the guy that's doing their marketing, and he's worked in a lot of data management businesses in the past where he saw hyper growth with those. Skilled guy with marketing, so I do expect him to have good marketing, and they are making those partnerships, and so I do expect more people to use this project in the future. I couldn't find anything based on how easy it is to use, but businesses are starting to adopt it. And they do have software development kits available for developers, and they make it usable for developers. But no one was mentioning how easy it is. But maybe that's just not an issue, and that's why they're I just couldn't find anything about how easy it is to use. So have that risk as it is. There is no fees, so there's no contribution from that. And I think that's everything. So yes. In the end, guys, this is a very unique approach. I did put a small amount of my portfolio into it, and we'll see how this thing turns out. I think it's a very, very unique approach. I think it's going to be a relevant project in the future. I think it could be quite massive, and that's because the technology is great. The guy's an innovator, and they're set up to benefit from that. So they're very motivated to see it happen, and they also have a vision and there's market niches that this project can fill that no other model really can, with that asynchronous security and things like that. So overall, a very unique project, definitely worth considering to take a look